In this video, I want to focus on Newton's second law of motion. This law is actually an equation. Force, represented by F, equals mass times acceleration. And so we are bringing our friend math into science. Math and science go hand in hand, and we use a lot of math in science. We just can't get away from it. So because we have this equation, we've got three different variables, which means we can have three different equations. And I want to show you by using a triangle how we come up with these three different equations. So basically, Newton's second law of motion says, when an unbalanced force acts on an object or the mass, acceleration is going to happen. So with some equations, we can actually make a triangle. And I love these triangles because these triangles help us be able to calculate any one of these three variables. So we have F, which stands for force, and M, which stands for mass. So this is force, M is mass, and A is acceleration. So those are things that you just need to know and somehow memorize, or whatever you do to remember that. It's not very hard because it's basically starts with the letter of the word. So that makes it easy. But what we want to do is use this triangle to come up with the three different equations, because in a problem, you will be given two of these and you have to calculate the third. Another thing that's really important is knowing the units for each of these. And if you know the units, that is also going to help you know how to calculate everything. So the unit for force is Newton, and we represent it with a capital N. The unit for mass is kilogram. Now sometimes mass is given in grams, and if it is, we would have to convert it to kilograms to match the Newton. Acceleration, the unit is meter per second squared. How many meters did you go per second per second? So let's look at our triangle, and we are going to color one of the letters in and end up with our equation. So our first one is force. How do you calculate the force? So I'm going to color in the F, kind of covering it up. And then what is left tells me what I need to do. So this is mass, and we'll just put times acceleration. So force equals mass times acceleration. Okay, so let's look at our next one. We are going to calculate the mass. What if we have to calculate the mass? And the question is going to ask you for the mass, and it's going to give you force and acceleration, or it's going to give you enough information that you can figure out the force or acceleration. You may need to do another calculation or a conversion, but it will give you what you need to know. So in this situation here, we will, let me just use the letter. We don't need to write the whole word. All right, so mass equals force divided by acceleration. So here we're going to divide, make our little division sign. And actually I want to, that's not a lowercase f. I want to make it a capital F. Okay. So we've got two equations so far. We know how to calculate force, and the problem is going to give us mass and acceleration. We know how to calculate mass, and the problem will give us the force and acceleration. And once again, if you know the units, when you see the numbers in the problem, you will be able to know which variable it is talking about. All right, so let's do one more highlight. We are going to cover up acceleration. Okay, so we've got acceleration covered up. And so the equation for acceleration, we've got force divided by mass. Force divided by mass. So that these are our three equations. From one equation, force equals mass times acceleration, we can calculate mass is force divided by acceleration, or acceleration is force divided by mass. So let's do a problem and see if we can use everything. All right, a student in the lunchroom threw a 0.5 kilogram burrito at a zombie. So the first, I'm going to stop right there. Why? Because I have a number. Okay, and I need to decide what is that number telling me. So we have three variables. We have mass, acceleration, and force. Well, if you know the unit for mass, you know the unit is kilograms. So 0.5 kilogram is the mass. And when you work problems like this, you need to write down your work, your thoughts, and that's what I'm doing by writing all this down. Then you need to show these numbers in the equation. That is showing your work. So make sure you show your work, write the equation, and put the units. Okay, he accelerates, he uses that lovely word, the burrito at 3 meters per second squared. So this is my acceleration, and that was easy because he told me exactly what it was. Didn't have to think very hard at all. How much force did he use? Well, that's what I'm calculating. So you remember your triangle, and you look at your triangle and know that force equals mass times acceleration. So you have force equals my mass, which is 0.5 kilograms. It's always good to keep the units so you know what units cancel and what units don't cancel as you multiply and divide. And then the acceleration is 3 meters per second squared. Okay, so you get your calculator or you do this in your head, whatever you want to do. But the answer is 1.5, and here's my unit, kilogram. There's not a kilogram under it to cancel it, times meter, okay, per second squared. So no units are getting canceled out. Okay, but that is not the unit for force. The unit for force is Newton. So our answer is force equals 1.5 newtons. That is our final answer. And it's always good to box your answer because we have all this work and you don't want somebody searching for your answer. Box it so they know, or circle it so they know for sure what your answer is. So what is a newton? Well, a newton is a unit for force, but you can see that it equals this right here. Kilogram times mass divided by second squared. That is a newton. So instead of writing all of that, we write the N. All right. Hopefully that helps you with force, mass, and acceleration. I'll probably be doing some more problems with these, so check out my videos and see some other problems worked. And I want you just to have confidence that you can conquer science.